The Major League Baseball regular season was wild. I can make a whole video on that. Multiple videos, actually. Endless videos that have been taken care of by other great channels in this space. But just because the regular season came to a close, the wildness was nowhere near done. I mean, if you've been watching sports for more than 10 minutes, you know the playoffs only get crazier, especially with baseball. I mean, at this point in baseball, it's almost expected to see upsets in at least half of the series being played. If the team with the better record always won every round, the world would be nearing its end. It's just never normal for that to happen because baseball is such a wacky game. The fact that you won a lot of games during the regular season literally means nothing in October. Just because, for example, the Dodgers are way better than the Diamondbacks on paper and have played way better against the Diamondbacks this year is irrelevant. Because when you pair two teams in a best of 3, 5, or 7 series, anything can happen. Teams can get hot at the right time, and within a blink of an eye, the squad you deem the best is eliminated. It's a cruel time of year, man. The postseason started out with the Texas Rangers having to travel down to St. Pete to play the Rays because they had choked the division. They could have been celebrating, relaxing, straight chilling back home in Arlington for a week while the Astros had to worry about beating the Rays. Going into the final weekend of the series, all the Rangers needed in order to win the American League West Division was to either split their 4-game series against the Mariners in Seattle, a team they had just swept the weekend prior, or have the Astros lose one game to the Diamondbacks in Arizona. The complete opposite happened. The Astros didn't lose a single game in Arizona, while the Rangers barely squeaked out one win, getting shut out on the final day of the season and losing 1-0. So the Rangers offense, one of the best offenses in baseball, probably the best offense in the American League, just needed 2 runs to win the division on the final day and couldn't do that. And because of this, like I said, they were forced to head on down to St. Pete and play a Rays team that won almost 100 games. Naturally, they were expected to lose, with many picking them to not even win a game against the Rays. The starting rotation was extremely thin because of injuries, and their Game 2 starter, Nathan Eovaldi, really hadn't had a good quality start since July. As he dealt with injuries, came back, wasn't great, giving up a combined 12 runs in his final 2 starts, both against the Mariners, on 11 hits, 4 of which were home runs. You already have a thin rotation, and the bullpen was not very encouraging either. So with all these issues with the pitching, naturally the Rangers went out there, shut out the Rays in Game 1 with Jordan Montgomery dominating the Rays lineup, followed by a shutout innings from Aroldis Chapman and Jose Leclerc to slam the door. Next up, Nathan Eovaldi, the dude who hasn't been good in months, would throw 6 2/3 innings, give up just 1 run while striking out 8, getting the win after the bullpen shut it down. So that's the Rangers starters combining for 13 2/3 innings and just 1 run allowed, with the bullpen combining for 4 1/3 shutout innings, while the offense scored a total of 11 runs in the series, ending a Rays team that looked like it had so much promise from the get-go all the way till that point. I mean, they started off the year 13-0, remember that? They won almost 100 games, got to be home against a battered down and demoralized Rangers team, only to scratch just 1 run across the plate in 18 innings. Tropicana Field also made history by having the lowest attendance for playoff games in over 100 years. Now, you could argue that it's the Rays and it's the Trop, and they've always had this issue, but it's the damn playoffs, there's no excuse. Meanwhile, up in Minnesota, the Blue Jays would take on the Twins, and I'm not sure how many necessarily chose a sweep, but I feel most did pick the Jays to win. Despite being on the road, they were looked at as the better overall team. Better lineup, better rotation, just better overall everything, and it was kind of true. The lineup at its best has the ability to do more damage than the Twins lineup at its best, at least on paper, and the starting rotation was maybe the strongest on all of baseball. Kevin Gausman was the ace, pitching to a 3.16 ERA at 185 innings during the regular season. Jose Barrios was nasty with a 3.65 ERA in about 190 innings. Chris Bassett threw 200 innings on the dot with a 3.60 ERA, and the lefty Yusei Kikuchi had a 3.86 ERA. That's 4 starting pitchers with a sub-4 ERA while also eating up innings. Extremely solid. So with as good as Kevin Gausman was leading this strong starting staff, He'd of course give up a 2-run shot in the very first inning to a guy appearing in his first ever playoff at-bat, Royce Lewis. And Lewis's second ever postseason at-bat, he'd take Gausman deep again. Gausman was taken out after 4 innings, the Blue Jays offense scored 1 run, and the Twins would win their first playoff game in over 20 years. Game 2 is more of the same, with the Blue Jays bats going quiet, completely quiet this time around actually, getting shut out, losing the game in the series 2-0. There was controversy surrounding Blue Jays manager John Schneider's move to take starter Jose Barrios out, despite dominating his former team and having a low pitch count, leading to the Twins eventually scoring the only 2 runs they got the entire game. The American League East Division was the best and most talented division in all of baseball this year. The Red Sox had to ruin things by finishing their year under 500, but the rest of the division finished over 500, which is really impressive. It doesn't happen that much for that many teams in a division to be over 500. Despite clearly being the best division, with the Rays and Jays both getting swept in the wildcard round, AL East teams were now 0-4 in the postseason, so not representing this division in the best way. Well, good thing the first place 101-win Orioles were next in line, starting their postseason in Baltimore against the Rangers for their first home playoff game since 2014. Game 1 was close, but the Rangers pitching got the job done yet again, even with Aroldis Chapman making things scary, getting himself in and out of trouble. Game 2 was fun for the Orioles for about 5 minutes after they jumped ahead 2-0 in the first, only for the Rangers to score 9 unanswered runs, eventually winning the game 11-8. Jordan Montgomery, the Rangers' ace, didn't even have a good game, yet they still managed to win and take a 2-0 series lead back home where they'd take care of business seemingly with ease. The Rangers jumped ahead in the first before scoring 5 in the second, capped off by an Adolis Garcia 3-run bomb. Nathan Eovaldi put his massive balls on the table, pitching yet another postseason masterclass as Texas swept the Orioles. Let me remind you, the AL East division was by far the best and most talented in baseball this year. 4/5 of the division finished over 500 and 3 of those teams made the postseason, only for them to go a combined 0-7. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it only gets weirder when you look around the league even more. The Atlanta Braves had a historical season, especially with the offense. Individual players broke records, other records were also broken by the team. It was just unfair how good the Atlanta lineup was. Top to bottom, 0 weaknesses. The Braves actually hadn't gotten shut out at home all season long. In fact, they hadn't gotten shut out at home since 2021. They hadn't gotten shut out, period, since May of this year. The team they were playing in the first round would be the Phillies, a team they played well against this year, winning 8 of the 13 games head-to-head in the regular season. So the Braves offense never gets shut out, especially at home, literally hasn't gotten shut out at home in over 2 years, and we're about to play a team they played well against this season, at home. So of course the Braves get shut out in Game 1 against the Phillies and then are being no-hit through 5 2/3 in Game 2. I mean, is this real life? Like, what the hell is going on? The Braves ended up hitting a couple of key clutch homers, capped off by a walk-off defensive play for the ages to tie the series at 1 game apiece headed to Philly. So in the end, they did get going, at least somewhat, only recording 4 hits overall in Game 2, but what on earth? 14 straight scoreless innings for the Braves offense at home to start the postseason. Out west in LA, the 84-win Arizona Diamondbacks would take on the 100-win Dodgers, and this was obviously a major mismatch for the D-backs. Not only did they finish 16 games behind the Dodgers this year, not only were they a much less talented team on paper than the Dodgers this year, and not only did they lose the season series to the Dodgers this year, losing 8 of 13 during the regular season, but the D-backs have historically been a terrible team at Dodger Stadium. I mean, it goes back years. The Diamondbacks were 5-24 at Dodger Stadium over the last 4 seasons. 5-24. Oh, but it gets even worse. If you want to look back over the last 10 seasons, the Diamondbacks were 22-63 at Dodger Stadium. In other words, the D-backs suck at Dodger Stadium and have sucked at Dodger Stadium for years. And it's not like there were any signs things could take a turn now. The Dodgers were clearly still the better team, but because baseball loves to be the most chaotic thing ever, the Diamondbacks promptly won both Games 1 and 2 at Dodger Stadium. And not only that, but they handed Clayton Kershaw the worst outing in his entire career, as he was able to record 1 out, while giving up 6 runs. The Diamondbacks won 11-2, going on to hold the Dodgers to just a couple of runs the next night, too. I am befuddled. I am bewildered. I am bamboozled. I'm flabbergasted. I'm woolly-headed. I didn't even know that was a term. I'm just looking through some synonyms here. The point is, what the D-backs did to the Dodgers in games 1 and 2 made no sense. But at this point, if things actually do make sense, it doesn't make sense, and something isn't right. The impossible needs to keep happening, and so it did. After the Minnesota Twins tied up their series 1-1 against the Astros by winning Game 2, they were now headed home for a Game 3 in which the Astros had a huge mismatch, at least starting pitching-wise. The starting pitcher for Houston would be Christian Javier, someone who doesn't suck, but he hasn't had the best of years, pitching to an ERA over 4.5 in 2023. As for the Twins, Sonny Gray would take the ball, someone who had an incredible year, pitching to a 2.79 ERA in 184 innings and was a master at keeping the ball in the ballpark. He just straight up refused to give up home runs all year long, giving up a total of just 8 throughout the entire season, which was a 0.4 home runs per 9 on average, the best in baseball. It took until July, Gray's 17th start, for him to give up his first home run of the year. And throughout all 32 of his outings this year, 33 if you want to include the wildcard game he pitched, Gray didn't have a single game where he gave up multiple home runs. Not one. In fact, to find the last time Sonny Gray allowed multiple home runs in a game was September of 2021. It had been over 2 years since Gray had allowed multiple home runs in a game. So, in Game 3 of the ALDS against the Astros, I mean, you might as well just say it with me at this point, he allowed multiple home runs in the game. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen something so predictably unpredictable. The Rangers pitching sucks? Okay, they're going to be fantastic. The Twins haven't won a playoff game since World War II? Okay, they're going to win multiple playoff games. The American League East is the best division ever? Okay, nobody in that division is going to win a single postseason game. The Atlanta Braves have the best offense ever and haven't gotten shut out at home in 2 years? Okay, they're going to struggle getting a hit through the first 2 games. The Diamondbacks have literally never won a game at Dodger Stadium? Okay, they're going to win every game at Dodger Stadium. There's something that Sonny Gray hasn't done in 2 years? Okay, he's gonna do that something. Baseball is so weird, man. Like, what is happening? I would say whoever was writing the script for this year's playoffs was intoxicated as hell, whether it was alcohol or drugs, but that honestly doesn't add up. What's happened is almost too perfect for a drunk or high person to come up with. The baseball gods are just pulling the ultimate troll job this postseason, and it's really been something to witness. So, what does baseball have up its sleeve next? Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.